Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the fact that we can actually share a few new pirates. Meredith, Brandon, welcome to the party. How are you doing today? Did we lose you? Your mic off? I cannot hear you.
We hear you, but
okay, I hear you now.
Hear
I hear you now.
Okay. Weird.
We're back.
Yeah.
Okay. What's technology without
great,
technology
doing well.
issues, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're doing well down here in Chattanooga.
All right. So talk a little bit about what you're doing right now. You're musicians. You play and perform music. So give us a backstory on who you are for those that don't know you. Give us a little setup here.
Well, I was a kid with a dream of being in the music industry and playing music, writing songs. The Beatles were a big influence. They were my dad's favorite band back in the 60s. And so I started teaching myself guitar at age 12. And then I, against my parents' wishes, moved to Nashville and started playing country music and also writing country music later on in time after I graduated college. Did what they wanted me to do, and then I did what I wanted to do. So moved to Nashville and had some cool success right off the bat. But the industry changed rapidly during that time and became much more cliquey, political, buddy, and it turned into less about the talent, more about the money. If you weren't from a silver spoon, you didn't have much of a chance type industry. And that's around 3 or 4 years into it, I met Meredith, and she believed in what I was doing, believed in my music, and she joined the challenge, the utmost challenge of being there by my side through this. And we have driven around the country and played all kinds of shows during normal years. We're doing 220 dates a year. During the COVID, of course, that drastically shrank our ability to play because of the shutdowns. So we are getting back in the swing of things. We got about 60 shows to go, but that will change and that will increase over time. And as one goes by, I'll book another. And so we'll probably end up somewhere around the 200 show mark when all is said and done by the end of this year.
That's fantastic. So the music industry as a whole has changed. Are you pursuing more online production or releasing songs or tracks in independently, or what's your direction that you're heading on for releasing music or producing songs nowadays?
Yes, definitely more the independent path, because whether a record label gets involved or not, you've got to have enough negotiation and leverage power if you were to get into a negotiation with them with a contract, that you'd want enough money coming in to be able to have any leg to stand on in that situation. So yeah, we're doing the independent route now. I work with Reba McEntire's band whenever I do projects. They have always been there since I got to know them through a connection with my dad. And my dad set us up to write songs. Well, basically, I'm trying to condense this story down a little bit, but we started writing songs first. And then after that, he said, "Would you like me to produce you?" And that's when he started producing me. And I've done several albums with him, several singles with him. And now I'm trying to get another one out there because I've got 1,400 original songs. So I've got plenty of material, but I don't have enough money to be able to go in there and do that because the return on investment doesn't make sense for anybody shelling out the dollars on their own. You really need it fan funded and crowdsourced if you're going to make anything or even break even on putting an album out there these days.
Jeff Young asks, are you two on Patreon? And what are many artists get a great deal of support?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I started a Patreon account. I don't believe I finished it because I think you have to pay to be on Patreon. So every one of these platforms, you know, the fans will ask, well, are you on this? Are you on that? And the truth is that there's always some kind of large takeaway that these platforms do, whether it's before or after you work with them. That's a monthly subscription type thing with Patreon. We got some really awesome fans. We found what works best as far as raising some capital is just going live and posting the PayPal link in there. That's what got us through a lot of COVID. Was we just simply went live on Facebook and pasted our PayPal link in there, and people gave through that as the live performance was going on. It was really a good thing back at that time.
Yeah, there was one point during the shutdown that we were going live 3 times a week, and people were tuning in because at that time most things were totally locked down, so people couldn't get out and do things, and so they were tuning in all the time. And you know, it was a great way to be able to have a sense of community that we were used to, because we were used to seeing a lot of people all the time, and it went to nobody really fast. And so we got to do that. But we don't have the Patreon going, not really because of what Brandon said, but we do have a fan club that has a monthly thing, and depending on what level you sign up in the fan club, you get certain perks and things like that. And we're using all of those funds to hopefully record a new EP that's almost evolved into a new album this year. So we're hoping that we can make that happen.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I really love the idea of having the opportunity to actually, you know, take 1,400 songs. Think about that. And you know that you could, you know, produce an album if you could actually, you know, get the funding to put it together and produce it and engineer it and master it and print it. It's a process. I know it's a process. So it's really nice to be able to think that if the fans can support you, and I know that Tracy will put the links in the show notes and all of the things that you're doing. I really want to support musicians. I really love the music industry. I love the musicians in the industry. I love to support musicians in the industry. And I just want to make sure that you have the tools you need and whatever we can do to shine a light on you guys and get some support for you. Angie's in the house. Mentioned Angie and Tracy, and Angie is an awesome individual. And Jeff Young says, morning all pirates. Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast. Namaste. Network and make all sorts of terrific energy. And he's a LinkedIn guru, so he's there. Sherry Lawley is another individual that's so supportive. She's incredibly supportive. Good morning. Support the artists. Absolutely. And so where are some other places, Meredith, that you started to mention that you do have a fan page? Where are some other places that people can connect and, you know, support you and show some caring and kindness?
Yeah, everywhere. We are on all the online streams. iTunes, we're on iTunes. Brandon's got several different albums on iTunes. Spotify, we're really currently trying to grow our Spotify monthly listeners, so people can find Brandon on Spotify. Of course, the usuals: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
You should put the link.
Tracy's gonna do that.
For the last form album and everything.
We can make sure she's got it to put on there. Yeah.
We'll make sure that Tracy has, and it'll be posted, and we'll repost it, and we'll share it out as well. So, you know, one of the things that I want to ask is, you know, you started at 12, you started practicing, and what's your process for writing songs, Brandon? I mean, what process do you go through? Does it start with the lyrics? Does it start with a hook? Does it start with a, how do you approach writing music?
Yeah, great question. So over the years, it's been all kinds of angles that has kind of spurred that on. But mostly I start with hooks, I start with ideas, and I'll just be talking to someone and or I'll hear somebody say something and I'll be like, I've never heard that before. That's an interesting take on that. And I'll write it down and save it. And then me and a co-writer will go back and work on it together. And I'll say, I've got this idea and here's the title. And that's how I mostly write my material. But I've started with bridges before, that's been kind of interesting where something just hits me and I've got a bridge. And then I'm like, well, I don't know what this would go to. And then we're working backwards from that. Or I'll come up with a couple of lines for chorus, and the music and the words will be there. And then I just have to find that magic hook that's going to be, what it needs. It could also just be a couple of really good, strong lines that I think would open up the song and be, the first two attention-grabbing lines of the song. But either way, it's got to start off with something worthy of going further with it and keeping that thought process going. Because if it's not worth it, then I'll just sort of stash it away and probably not do anything with it. But if the idea has a strong enough idea to stand alone, then it's worthy of, because the song is only as good as the idea and the hook that it rests on. And then you write the lyrics to that idea, and when that happens, then you've got a truly good song.
Yeah, it always fascinates me when I was playing music, and writing songs and, coming up with melodies and chord progressions and everything. Everybody has a different approach. Some people take a recorder or they record it on their phone, or they hear that earworm kind of melody coming out and they can sing it to themselves or play something and come back on the guitar or piano and play it. Now, are you primarily on the guitar?
Yes, I'm primarily on the guitar. I play a little harmonica every now and then. Okay. I've started teaching myself other instruments in the past, and I can pick up a lot of stringed instruments because the guitar came natural for me. So I can pick up a ukulele, and by the end of the day, maybe have a couple of songs that I know. So that comes natural, but I don't. Besides that, that's pretty much it.
That's fantastic. What do you find as inspiration for your songs? Is it your life experiences? Is it just ideas and thoughts, or what do you find for inspiration?
Yeah, a combination of life experiences and those times that I'm just thinking, well, that's interesting. That's an interesting take. I may be watching some TV and I see something going on in the world that, I do or don't agree with, and that will spur something. I may, a lot of times it's the same with me too. Somebody experiences a heartbreak, like back when I was dating and everything, I experienced that. And so that was sort of the beginnings of where I found a lot of my inspiration was just going through a traumatic breakup or having somebody, leave you again, and so you get sad and you write a song about it. It's therapy. So it has all kinds of places that I get that inspiration. But lately here, it's been, what's happening in our world, what is going on around us in the news and in, just my life and Meredith's life. And, that's where I get a lot of it these days.
That's awesome. Jeff Young says, I agree, Russ. It's important to support all the artists we can. Absolutely. Sherry Lawley says, which platforms gives you the largest share of purchases?
Great question.
Very great question.
So iTunes gives a large share of the downloads, comparatively speaking. Like they're the only ones that really do downloads anymore. But I think when I have the most money that comes in, CD Baby, I do my distribution some through them, and any of the ones that are the distribution things that you pay for that distribute it to all of the different places, they usually give you the largest cut too in the end. Amazon is higher up there on the list. But I think I'm thinking about my sheet that I get with all my royalty breakdowns. And of course, when it comes to online, it's always better if you're at a show and an artist has CDs for sale. That's going to give them the largest cut. And it's such a shame that CDs have gone away in computers and everything else, because we're a victim of our music industry and our technology with that, because that's where we were making our main money, was on CD sales. And now I would say CD Baby, Amazon. What do you think, Meredith? Am I leaving anything out?
No, I think you're hitting them all as far as I can.
And but the lowest, I can tell you what the lowest are, is your like streaming services like Pandora, Spotify. Spotify used to be 0.001 cents per stream, but the government said you got to come up, or somebody, there's some kind of law. So they did such a gracious thing, and they bumped it up by 0.004 cents a stream. So now we're rolling in the dough,
I can't believe you're even talking to me at that amount.
Right. Yeah. Why are we even here?
Yeah. So what were you going to say, Meredith?
I was just going to say that you brought up a really good point, in that something that people may not realize: when an independent artist has merchandise available at a show, that's one of the best ways to support them, because it helps them on the road. A lot of times these places, they don't pay significantly well, and the artist is depending on the tips in the tip jar and whatever merchandise they can sell to get them further down the road to the next destination. Because most of the times when we go out on the road, we are one night in one town, and then the next night we may be 6 hours away or 4 hours away on to the next town. And the tips that we make that night help us get further down the road to the next place, and can determine, at one point they determined meals for the next day. They determined where we stayed the night before. So it's something to think about, that generosity and that show of support is always something that's big. And equally as big is when you hear a band and you enjoy them and you enjoy their original songs. Learn their original songs. Learn them so you could sing along with them, and then tell your friends. Share their online pages with your friends, because the biggest way to spread music, just like anything else these days, is word of mouth. And friends trust their friends about what to listen to. So that's huge.
Yeah, good point.
And that's free. That doesn't cost you anything to tell somebody.
That's a great point.
When you had a great experience at a show this weekend, and you want to make sure that all your friends come out the next time that band is in town, that costs you nothing. So
Word of mouth advertising, still the best form of advertising out there.
For sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I know that a lot of musicians that's the way that they've actually produced results and a positive outcome, is they actually create a community around it and build an audience, from organically. And it's just that it's that constant grind. So I guess one of the questions I want to ask Meredith is, what has surprised you most about being involved with Brandon and watching the music industry and evolving? Were you also in music yourself before you met Brandon?
No, I was not in music at all. I was managing a coffee shop. I just joined along because I believed in Brandon's songs, and I thought that I could help him. And I knew people, and I knew that if people got the opportunity to hear Brandon, that they would love him. Yeah. And so my drive, since I met Brandon, is to make sure that as many people can hear him, so that they will become a fan and become part of what we're doing. And so after we eloped on a tour, I thought about all the time that we would spend apart. Yeah, that's another story. But after we eloped on a tour in Southwest Florida, I thought about all the time that we would spend apart. And obviously I married him because I wanted to spend time with him and not apart. So I started playing percussion alongside of him and singing a little bit of backup, but I obviously am not professionally trained in any kind of way. I just jump in and play what feels right with whatever Brandon's playing. And so we've developed quite a show. I think, we get a great response every time we play. But I guess one of the most surprising things that I found is that a lot of times your average listener can get caught up in a shtick online and slick promotional material, which is not something that we've always had because we're not backed by an investor. We play show to show to show, and that's why we've played so many shows, is to keep the bills paid and to do everything that we need to do. And so we have been very much a grassroots movement. And so it has been a shame to see other artists who, in my opinion, don't have the songs or the talent that Brandon has, seem to surpass us in some ways because they get an investor who pumps, $300,000 into their career, and then suddenly they're opening for larger acts and doing other things that we simply haven't had the opportunity to because we don't have that kind of money to just put into the career. But we do love our fans. We have a growing, great fan base. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just add "yet" to the end of that sentence.
That's correct. You are so correct. And we definitely have not given up hope. Or we wouldn't still be doing what we're doing for sure. Yeah. For sure. But we have a great fan base across the country, and they try to help us anytime that they can. And we just, there is a great sense of community in what we're building. It's just hard. It's hard when there are so many artists that are online, so many artists pumping material out, so many things, and then so many artists as well that will pay for that extra boost of promotion that can bump up their posts versus ours. So that's something that we have to compete with too.
Yeah. Another thing is that, we were kind of on that cusp of both being born and right before the internet and everything kind of was the thing. And so a lot of artists are maybe a little bit younger than we are, and they've got a little bit more tech savvy. And it seems like the tech savvy people in this are the ones that rule. If you're a computer geek, you might not have all the talent someone else does, but man, can you get those numbers up there?
Yeah.
Because you're a computer geek and you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a tool that has been used more recently in the music industry. Angie brings up a good point, and I want to explore this a little bit and plant this seed because I think it might be a good idea, because with 1,400 songs, you have an idea. But Angie says, I have a perfect hook for a country song. We should talk. So have you ever considered doing commissions for people that have an idea that you could help them develop, and then they could have their own song, so to speak, just like artists, painting commissioned art.
Yeah.
Yes, I've done that. So I'm on a site called airgigs.com, and airgigs, where you can do works for hire with different people. They come to you, and it the site's the intermediary that kind of keeps everybody honest, so to speak. So airgigs, they say, I'm looking for writing this song. It's a country style song. And I've got this girlfriend that I want to impress, and I want to live vicariously, you to live vicariously or whatever through that song. And so I write that song for them basically, and then they sing it to their girlfriend or significant other. And so that's I do some of those work for hire type things. Yes, definitely. That is something that we've come across and that I'm open to. But now I'd prefer just to deal directly with that person if I trust them and they're honest, and we know that we can trust each other with that.
Yeah.
Well, for any of you pirates out there, if you need a song and you need a songwriter for that unique, special individual event or person that in your life, you can call Brandon now. Meredith, make a note of there. Let's
they could be ready.
Connected us. It's awesome.
One of the
It's
songs
awesome.
that Brandon got hired to write was about the girl that worked at the pretzel stand in the mall, and how this guy like fell in love with the girl that worked at Annie Ann's. You know, I guess it's basically kind of like the falling in love at the coffee shop, whatever that song was several years ago. But it was just really interesting. You just never know what somebody's going to contact you about for a song.
Yes,
Yeah.
Angie, I see her message came up here too. Sometimes just one person believing in you makes a world of difference. That is totally right. If the right person believes in you, we've got, you know, as Garth Brooks would say in his song, "Friends in Low Places," that if you got all your friends in low places and they believe in you, that's wonderful. You got fans like that believe in what you're doing, and that's great. We'll take it each and every day they come along. But if you got somebody that's in high places with deep pockets and they can help you get to that next level and they believe in you and they're willing to, that's what we're all looking for out here. Because, you know, it's like horses in a race. All of us independent acts are like horses in a race. Now, if you believe in one, don't you want to put your money behind the best horse in the race? So you got to look at that talent. You have to have good ears. You have to be able to discern one artist from another. There's lots of good ones, but how many of them can sing, play, write, do the whole shebang, or, you know, can do all those things? And they might not take that into account. So they put their money behind somebody that is, you know, just their friend that just says, hey, I need some of this. I don't know. It's just a really messed up business because of the greed that's entered into it, that people say, well, you got to bring me X number of dollars to promote you. And it's not small money either. We're talking $3,000 a month to test market you, $9,000 at the end of 3 months. And then you can finally get to the right palm to pay to get the rest of the way there. So we're talking about larger types of money that you got to either have a rocking day job that makes all kinds of money, or you got to know someone with deep pockets.
Yeah, it's very competitive business. Sherry again asked the Patreon. We talked about the Patreon. So this takes no production and no product or merchandise to sell. That's true. And there's a lot of platforms out there that are emerging. It seems like there's more and more. So it's like you're going back to saying, if you're tech savvy and you know how to move all these levers in the tech side, and you may not have as much talent, it would be really, you know, it's challenging. And live shows and selling merchandise is probably the best way that a lot of musicians use to produce revenue. Is there a lineup or shows that you have that you? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So we have lots of merchandise, and we also have that link to, since Sherry was talking about Patreon, we've got a link that we can put in there, Sherry, that has it. We get 100% of the proceeds. We don't have to like split it with Patreon as the middleman. So we'll make sure that everybody gets that. These are awesome questions, and we appreciate everybody asking how that they can support. That's awesome. Thank you, guys. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, it's hard too to keep up with the latest, like, not trend, but the latest platform to be on to raise these funds. Like there's Patreon, and then there was GoFundMe, and then there was all these other things. Like our passion and our focus, especially Brandon's focus, is on the creative and on the songwriting and playing the guitar, and not what do we need to keep up with online, you know. And it's a very fine balancing act. Like if you don't have both going on, then you're sunk. But you have to have. But we focus more on the art and not on the electronic side, and so then it's harder.
Yeah, you know, you got to be a businessman, and I can be a businessman for sure. But to be a tech savvy businessman, to keep up with all the latest technological advancements all the time, that's something where it robs from the art. If you try to do all that, the time you spend trying to keep up with the latest advancements and everything in tech is it takes away from it. It can do nothing else unless you just never sleep and you work 24/7 around the clock. You're going to have to sacrifice something. Something's got to give there, you know?
Yeah. Well, as somebody that's been in the business and understands a little bit about what you're going through, I appreciate and applaud you guys for doing what you're doing. And I love music. I mean, it's my first love, and I've been going through this process of just creating a track a day, and it's just, I've been doing, just simple tracks, just experiments. They're nothing compared to what you're doing, but it's something that I just love and enjoy, and I'm just going to continue to support musicians and music, and I just appreciate the fact that you came and stopped by the show, and hopefully introduces you to a new audience that you didn't previously have. So hopefully you can find a few fans from this event and opportunity. So thank you so much for being here, both Meredith, Brandon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, Russ. Really appreciate that. You having us.
Yeah. And also just remember, everyone, that the links, connections, anything that we could do to promote Brandon and Meredith in their journey, we'll have links in the podcast and in the show notes, and we'll share it out as well. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And as you know, everyone, kindness is cool. Smiles are free. So you enjoy the day. Go away, you guys.
Thank you.
Back. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.